Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be sharing with you the top 5 books that I read this summer. So I had a really good summer reading season, which I'm pretty proud about. There are some really good highlights in here as well. So kind of the general format of this video is that I will kind of go over all the books that I read, their rating, and then I'll kind of discuss the ones that were my favorite or the top 5 in a little bit more detail. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So starting out in June, I first read A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Homefront by Kristen Hanna, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. The Night Stalker by Robert Bryndza, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And the audiobook for Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. So moving on to the month of July, I first read Dark Water by Robert Bryndza, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Last Breath by Robert Bryndza, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Cold Blood by Robert Bryndza, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And Deadly Secrets by Robert Bryndza, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. The audiobook for Codename Verity, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. The Tattoist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, which I gave a 2.5 out of 5 stars. You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, which I gave a 2 out of 5 stars. And Season of the Witch by Sarah Brennan, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And finally, moving into August, I first listened to the audiobook for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Of Blood and Bone by Nora Roberts, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Bow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson, which I also gave a 5 out of 5 stars. A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And Resistance Women by Jennifer Chiaverini, which I gave a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Alrighty, so moving on to the top 5 books from this summer. I first, obviously you can kind of tell here, but I first have the Erica Foster series by Robert Bryndza. I marathoned through all of these books and I genuinely loved them. As you can see, like the lowest rating was like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. These were incredibly fast-paced. I really love the character of Erica. She is very complex and dynamic, and what I like about these is that the chapters are very short, so the book really flies really quickly. It ends on cliffhangers. It was just, this has definitely become one of my favorite crime series of all time, which is a very prestigious thing for me because I read a lot of crime novels. But I definitely, if you're looking into getting into crime, like murder mysteries, like I definitely recommend starting with this one. It's a bit more modern as opposed to some more of like the classics as well. But yeah, you guys will definitely, if you are a fan of murder mysteries, like those ones, definitely check this series out. Like I loved it. I flew through this series. Like I'm so sad, but I have to wait till next year for a new one to come out. But yeah, I feel like marathoning through them was the way to do it. Next I have Of Blood and Bone by Nora Roberts, and this is the sequel in the Chronicles of One trilogy that she has, and I got year 1 for Christmas this past year, and it's kind of different. I've read a couple of Nora Roberts books, so if you're familiar with the magic system, you'll kind of know the general premise of like how she does her book. This one is a little bit different. So basically there is this like viral outbreak that kills 2/3 of the population, and the ones that are immune to this kind of mysterious virus are those who have some sort of magical power in them, and so you can kind of see how that can kind of lead to a kind of anarchy situation, and it kind of takes off from there. But this is a sequel, so I can't really talk too much about the things that happen, but give year 1 a try, and if you like it, like the second one was amazing. Like I really liked year 1, but the second one Of Blood and Bone like was so good. I loved it. I really loved the magical element. I'm really excited for the new one to be coming out in November. It was so good, so definitely check this one out. And I think it's just a unique read. Like this is kind of like a sci-fi fantasy, and I don't really gravitate towards this, but this was kind of me stepping outside of my comfort zone, and I was actually pleasantly surprised with how everything turned out, so definitely recommend this trilogy. Next I have Homefront by Kristen Hanna, and this was the Tales and Teacups book club picks for May and June, I want to say. And this follows a woman who is like deployed to go overseas in Afghanistan, and she has a very strained relationship with her husband, and then she ends up going away overseas, and when tragedy strikes, everything kind of gets turned upside down. So that's kind of, I don't want to spoil too much about this, but I really love how this book tackled PTSD and all the things that aren't necessarily really talked about when people like come back from war, and just kind of the struggle and all of that stuff. I really like one of the points in here is like they have so much training going into war, but kind of coming back to society, they don't have anything to prepare them for it, which I thought was really interesting. This one really tugged on the heartstrings. I really like this. This isn't my favorite Kristen Hanna book, but I thought it was really thought-provoking in terms of just kind of veteran culture, which I think was my favorite part as this as well. But I'm happy you guys kind of read along with us for this, and a lot of you seem to really enjoy this book as well. Next, I have the highly anticipated sequel to Dance of Thieves, Vow of Thieves, and I was so excited for this one. Like, I was honestly counting down the days. I was so excited, in fact, that I reread Dance of Thieves in preparation for this coming out, but I feel like it was a really good conclusion to this duology. I'm very sad that we're gonna kind of be away from this world for a little bit until she has a new kind of spin-off series. I don't know how else she's gonna do it. I know she's planning to write more books in this world, but basically, if you're familiar with the Redneck Chronicles, this duology takes place 6 years after the events of the last book, and I don't want to spoil too much about that in there, but if you're familiar with it. But I really loved this duology. I thought it lived up to all the expectations of the original trilogy, and this book really ended really well. I really loved it. It was just, compared to the first one, I feel like this one was a little bit more intense and complex, and there was a lot of political stuff going on in here as well. I do love the Redneck Chronicles maybe just a smidge more, but this is a really good spin-off series, so I'm really sad that we'll be leaving this world, but this like duology like lived up to all of my expectations, so I'm really sad that I'll be away from this world, but I was like, oh, maybe in a year or two I'll reread all of the books, so something to look forward to. And lastly, this is one that took me by surprise, and it was Season of the Witch. And if you are a fan, like, I'm obsessed with the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix. I love that series. So I saw this, and I think I had like an add-on item on Amazon, and this book was only like $8, so I needed that to kind of get the add-on item included, so I was like, yeah, it can't hurt. But I was a little hesitant with this just because like books or like novels that are based off of like movies or TV shows, I find like that they don't meet the quality of kind of like the media side to it, but I was actually pleasantly surprised by this. So this is a prequel before like the first episode of season 1, and I really like this. There are chapters in here you can see that are black, and they are called like What Happens in the Dark, and they're mostly kind of the characters' internal dialogue, like their fears, like what they're actually thinking. And I really liked those chapters because I got to explore more of like the stuff that are kind of loosely kind of touched on in the series, but they don't really go out and fully address it, which I liked. You kind of got to understand the characters a lot more, and I really liked how this actually tied in a lot with like even though some of the stuff they talk about in here that's not even really discussed until season 2. So I really liked how that ties in, and then there's another one coming out in December, which I'm really excited about, so I'm very interested to see where that ties in relative to the series, because this is more of like a prequel. But yeah, definitely if you're a fan of this series, you will actually like this book. Like, I was pleasantly surprised. It's a quick read, but I really like this, so like if you are a fan, like I said, it's a good thing to add to your collection. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite books that you read this summer were, and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.